Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found this message today. Please hit that subscribe button so we can continue this journey together. And to those of you who've sent super thanks recently, I want you to know how deeply I appreciate your generosity and support. Your kindness allows this ministry to reach more hearts. And if you feel led to support through super thanks today, I'm truly grateful, but no pressure at all. You being here is more than enough. Today, we're diving into something that may surprise you, something tender and beautiful that's happening right now in the spiritual realm and in the hearts of people around you. There's someone you may have never considered, someone whose thoughts about you would absolutely astound you, who is carrying something beautiful for you in their heart. And the reason behind it isn't what you might expect. It's not about your appearance, your achievements, or your social status. It's about something far more profound, something that touches the very core of who you are as a person created in God's image. Here's what you need to understand before we go further. This message is about healthy, mutual, God-honoring connections. We're not talking about obsession, manipulation, or one-sided infatuation. We're talking about genuine appreciation, respect, and affection that aligns with biblical principles. If someone's attention toward you feels controlling, invasive, or disrespectful of your boundaries, that's not what we're discussing today. Always seek God's wisdom and trusted counsel about your specific relationships. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 9 specific reasons why someone values you more deeply than you. Realize each point will show you exactly what you're doing, often without even knowing it. That creates genuine connection and draws authentic love into your life. You're going to learn how to recognize healthy admiration versus unhealthy attachment. You'll discover the biblical foundation for why these qualities matter so deeply, and you're going to walk away seeing yourself the way heaven sees you, valuable, worthy, and deeply loved. So grab your journal, get comfortable, and let's unlock this truth together. Number 1. Did you know that psychologists have found that emotional consistency is one of the rarest and most valued traits in relationships? Yet it's something most people never consciously develop. Research shows that people who demonstrate stable emotional responses create a sense of safety that's more powerful than physical attraction in determining long-term relationship success. And right now, there may be someone who has noticed your emotional steadiness in ways you never imagined. Your ability to remain calm when chaos erupts around you hasn't gone unnoticed. When everyone else is spiraling, panicking, or reacting impulsively, you're the one who takes a breath. You're the one who thinks before speaking. This isn't about being emotionless or suppressing what you feel. It's about being grounded. There may be someone watching how you handle disappointment without becoming bitter. They've seen you face rejection without retaliating. They've witnessed you navigate conflict without drama. And it's created something in their heart they can't quite explain. Let me give you a specific example. Maybe you're in a workplace where a project failed, and everyone's pointing fingers. While others are defending themselves or attacking colleagues, you're the one who says, "Let's figure out what we can learn from this." Or perhaps in your friend group, 2 people had a falling out, and instead of taking sides and gossiping, you remained neutral and kind to both. That person who noticed didn't just think it was nice, they thought it was extraordinary. Proverbs 17:27 tells us, "Whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding." This isn't just ancient wisdom, it's a description of the kind of person who creates lasting impact. When you demonstrate emotional stability, you're reflecting the character of Christ, who remained composed even when facing false accusations and injustice. Here's how this applies practically. When you choose not to send that angry text, when you decide to sleep on a decision instead of reacting immediately, when you refuse to match someone else's chaos with your own, you're building something rare. You're creating an atmosphere where others feel safe to be vulnerable, and someone has noticed that when they're around you, they don't have to walk on eggshells. They don't have to manage your emotions or worry about triggering an outburst. They can breathe. This matters deeply in romantic relationships because emotional safety is the foundation of intimacy. If this resonates with you, understand that your steadiness is not boring. It's beautiful. It's not weakness. It's strength under control. Now, let me briefly show you what the unhealthy version looks like, so you can recognize the difference. Emotional instability that seeks attention looks like creating drama to feel important, threatening to leave every time there's a disagreement, or using emotional outbursts to control others. That's manipulation, not genuine connection, but your authentic emotional maturity, the kind that comes from spending time in God's presence and allowing Him to shape your character. That's creating attraction in someone's heart that's based on something real. They're not drawn to you because you're perfect. They're drawn to you because you're peaceful. And in a world that's constantly chaotic, that peace is magnetic. Someone may be thinking about what it would be like to build a life with a person like you. They're imagining what it would feel like to come home to your steadiness after a difficult day. They're wondering if you realize how rare you are. The answer behind why this touches them so deeply is simple. In your presence, they feel like they can finally rest. They've been around people who drain them, who require constant emotional management, who turn every small issue into a crisis. But you're different, and that difference has planted something in their heart that's growing into admiration, respect, and possibly even love. Number 2. Studies in interpersonal communication reveal that people remember how you made them feel far longer than what you actually said. And there's someone right now who remembers every single time you made them feel valued. The way you listen, truly listen, has left an imprint on someone's soul that they think about more often than you'd ever guess. Your attention is a gift you may be giving without realizing its full worth. In a world where everyone is distracted, scrolling, half present, and waiting for their turn to talk, you actually put down your phone. You make eye contact. You ask follow-up questions that show you were truly hearing, not just waiting to speak. There may be someone who had a conversation with you weeks or even months ago, and they still think about how seen they felt. Let me paint you a specific picture. Maybe you were at a gathering, and while everyone else was networking and trying to impress each other, you noticed someone sitting alone. You sat down next to them and asked how they were really doing. Not the surface level, "How are you?" that expects a fine response, but the kind of question that invites honesty. And when they started sharing, you didn't interrupt with your own story. You didn't offer quick fixes. You just listened with your whole heart. That person went home that night and thought about you. They may have even told someone close to them, "I met someone today who actually listened to me." Or perhaps it happened in a more everyday setting. A coworker mentioned they were stressed about something, and instead of just saying "that's tough" and moving on, you remembered and checked in with them a few days later. That small act of remembering communicated something powerful. You matter to me. Your life matters to me. What you're going through matters to me. James 1:19 instructs us, "Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger." This biblical principle isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about honoring others through the gift of attention. When Jesus walked the earth, he was constantly interrupted, constantly surrounded by crowds. Yet he stopped for individuals. He listened to the woman at the well. He gave his full attention to children when his disciples tried to send them away. He modeled what it looks like to make people feel valued through presence. Here's the practical application. When someone is talking to you and you feel the urge to check your phone, that's your moment to practice this. When someone is sharing something and you're already formulating your response, stop and actually hear what they're saying. When someone tells you something important, set a reminder to follow up with them about it. These small acts of intentional listening create connection that goes deeper than words. And if this resonates with you, if you recognize yourself as someone who genuinely listens, understand that someone has noticed. They may not have the words to express it, but they feel different after talking with you. They feel lighter, they feel understood, and that feeling has created something tender in their heart toward you. Now let me show you the contrast so you can discern healthy connection from unhealthy patterns. Someone who uses listening as manipulation will use the information you share against you later, will listen only to find your weaknesses, or will pretend to care but have ulterior motives. That's not genuine listening, that's strategy. But when your listening comes from authentic care and Christ-like love, it builds trust and safety. The person who's been impacted by your listening may be wondering if you realize how special you are. They may be hoping for more conversations with you. They might even be praying about whether there could be something more between you. The reason this touches their soul is because you've given them something they've been starving for, the experience of being truly known, not analyzed, not judged, not dismissed, just heard. In your listening, they encountered a glimpse of how God listens to us, attentively, patiently, with full presence, and that glimpse has drawn their heart toward yours in ways they might still be trying to understand themselves. Number 3, neuroscience. Research shows that witnessing someone operate with integrity activates the same reward centers in the brain as receiving a gift. And there may be someone whose heart has been deeply moved by watching you live according to your values when it cost you something. Your integrity in the small moments has spoken louder than any words you could ever say. Integrity isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent between your private life and your public life. It's about doing what's right even when no one's watching, even when it's inconvenient, even when you'd benefit from compromising and someone has been paying attention. They've watched you choose honesty when a lie would have been easier. They've seen you keep your word even when circumstances changed and backing out would have been understandable. They've noticed that you don't talk differently about people depending on who's in the room. Let me give you a concrete example. Maybe you made a commitment to help someone move, and then you got invited to something far more appealing on that same day. While most people would have found an excuse to back out, you kept your commitment. That person you helped may not have said much, but they noticed that your word means something. Or perhaps you were in a situation where everyone else was gossiping about someone, and you either defended that person or simply chose not to participate. Someone in that group noticed your silence, and it spoke volumes. They thought, this is someone who would have my back too. Or maybe you had an opportunity to take credit for something you didn't fully do. And instead of letting people assume, you clarified and gave credit where it was due. Someone watched that and thought, this is a person I can trust. Proverbs 11:3 declares, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. This isn't just moral teaching, it's relational reality. When you operate with integrity, you create a foundation of trust that becomes the bedrock of deep connection. Jesus demonstrated this perfectly when he remained truthful even when it led to his crucifixion. He could have compromised, could have played political games, could have told people what they wanted to hear, but his integrity was unshakable. And it's that same integrity that draws people to him even 2,000 years later. Here's how this works practically in your life. When you're tempted to call in sick to work when you're not actually sick, your integrity shows up. When you could easily justify keeping extra change the cashier mistakenly gave you, your integrity speaks. When you could let someone believe something false about a situation because correcting them would be awkward, your integrity guides you. These moments feel small to you, but they're massive to someone who's watching. If this resonates with you, if you recognize that you genuinely try to live with integrity even when it's costly, know that someone has been deeply impacted by this quality in you. They might not have told you directly, but they think about it. Now here's the healthy versus unhealthy distinction you need to understand. Someone who demands perfection from you, who uses your past mistakes to shame you, or who holds you to standards they don't live by themselves. That's not someone honoring your integrity. That's someone trying to control you. But genuine admiration for your integrity looks like respect, trust, and a desire to grow in that same direction themselves. The person whose heart has been touched by your integrity may be asking themselves if they're worthy of someone like you. They may be working on their own character because you've inspired them. They may be thinking about what a relationship with you would look like, knowing that they could trust you completely. The reason this touches their soul so deeply is because integrity is rare. They've been hurt by people who said one thing and did another. They've been let down by those who only acted right when it benefited them. But in you, they've seen someone who lives by a different standard, and that standard, rooted in your relationship with Christ and your desire to honor Him, has become incredibly attractive to them. In a world full of filters, personas, and carefully crafted images, your authenticity and integrity shine like gold, and someone is thanking God that you exist. Number 4, relationship. Psychologists have discovered that emotional generosity, the ability to celebrate others' success without jealousy, is one of the strongest predictors of relationship satisfaction. And there may be someone who's been deeply moved by how genuinely you celebrate others, your ability to be happy for people, even when you're still waiting for your own breakthrough, hasn't gone unnoticed. This is about more than just being polite or offering congratulations. This is about genuine joy that radiates from you when good things happen to others. It's about the absence of that subtle edge of envy that so many people carry. Someone has watched you celebrate others, and it's revealed something beautiful about your heart. Let me paint a specific scenario. Maybe someone in your circle got engaged, and while others were comparing their own relationship status or making passive-aggressive comments, you threw yourself into celebrating with them. You asked about the proposal story. You were excited about their joy. You offered to help with planning. The person who got engaged felt your genuine happiness, but someone else was watching. 2. Someone else noticed that you didn't let your own single season diminish your ability to celebrate someone else's love story. Or perhaps a coworker got the promotion you were hoping for, and instead of being bitter or distant, you congratulated them sincerely and even offered to help them transition into the new role. That coworker appreciated it. But someone else in the office noticed your character. They thought, this is someone whose ego isn't fragile. This is someone who's secure enough to celebrate others. Or maybe a friend shared an achievement on social media, and while their post got a lot of generic congrats comments, you sent them a personal message, sharing specific reasons why you were proud of them and why they deserved this success. That friend was touched, but someone mutual noticed your comment and thought about the kind of person who takes time to celebrate others so thoroughly. Romans 12:15 instructs us to rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. This is the heartbeat of genuine community and connection. It's easy to weep with those who weep. Suffering tends to unite us and call forth our compassion. But rejoicing with those who rejoice, especially when we're still waiting for our own reason to rejoice, requires a secure identity in Christ. Jesus demonstrated this when he attended weddings and celebrations, even while carrying the weight of his mission. He celebrated with others even when his own path led to suffering. He found joy in others' joy because his identity wasn't threatened by their blessings. Here's how this applies to your daily life. When you see someone's good news and your first instinct is to compare yourself to them, that's your moment to practice rejoicing. When someone gets what you've been praying for, and you feel that twinge of, why not me? That's when you choose to celebrate anyway. When God blesses someone else in the area where you're still believing for breakthrough, and you bless them out loud and in your heart, You're operating in spiritual maturity. This matters deeply because it reveals what's in your heart. And if this resonates with you, if you genuinely celebrate others, even when you're still waiting, someone has noticed this quality in you and it's drawn their heart. Let me show you what the unhealthy version looks like briefly. Someone who only celebrates you when they're doing better than you, who downplays your achievements, or who competes with you instead of collaborating. That's insecurity masking as relationship. That's not someone celebrating you. That's someone measuring themselves against you. But genuine admiration of your generous spirit looks like someone who's inspired by your lack of jealousy, who's attracted to your security, who wants to learn how you maintain such a pure heart. The person who's been touched by your celebratory spirit may be thinking about what it would be like to do life with you. They're imagining how it would feel to share their dreams with someone who wouldn't compete but would champion. They're wondering what it would be like to win with you by their side, knowing you'd be genuinely thrilled. The reason this touches their soul is because they've experienced the opposite. They've been around people who subtly diminish their joy. They've shared good news, only to feel like they had to downplay it so others wouldn't feel bad. They've learned to hide their wins to avoid triggering jealousy. But with you, they sense they could be fully successful and fully celebrated. Your generous spirit has shown them what healthy relationship looks like, too. People who aren't threatened by each other's growth, but who genuinely want to see each other thrive, and that vision has planted something in their heart that's growing into deep appreciation and possibly even love. Number 5, research in attachment theory shows that people who can be both strong and tender create the deepest sense of security in relationships. And there may be someone who's been profoundly impacted by witnessing your gentle strength, the way you handle your power, whether physical, intellectual, financial, or social, with gentleness has touched someone more deeply than you know. This is about the unique combination of capability and kindness. It's about being fully able to assert yourself, defend yourself, or dominate a situation, yet choosing tenderness instead. It's strength under control, power submitted to love, and someone has watched you operate this way and been moved. Let me give you a tangible example. Maybe you're physically strong or athletically capable, and someone smaller or weaker needed help. Instead of making them feel inadequate or rushing through helping them, you were patient and gentle. You used your strength to serve, not to intimidate. That person you helped felt cared for, but someone else witnessed it and thought about what kind of protector you would be. Or perhaps you're intellectually sharp, and you were in a conversation where you clearly knew more than everyone else. Instead of dominating the discussion or making others feel stupid, you asked questions that drew out their thoughts. You shared your knowledge without condescension. Someone in that conversation went home thinking about how rare it is to meet someone brilliant who isn't arrogant. Or maybe you're in a position of authority at work or in ministry, and you had to correct someone's mistake. Instead of publicly humiliating them or being harsh, you pulled them aside and addressed it with firmness, but also with dignity and encouragement. That person you corrected appreciated how you handled it. But someone else observed and thought, that's leadership. That's character. 1 Peter 3:15 tells us to give an answer for our faith with gentleness and respect. This principle extends beyond apologetics. It's about how we use whatever power or advantage we possess. Jesus embodied this perfectly. He had all power in heaven and earth, yet he washed his disciples' feet. He could have called down legions of angels, yet he submitted to arrest and crucifixion. He demonstrated that true strength isn't about dominating others, it's about laying down your power in service of love. Here's the practical application. When you're in a position of advantage and you're tempted to leverage it for your own benefit, that's your moment to choose gentleness. When you're right and someone else is wrong, and you could destroy them in the argument, that's when you practice restraint. When you have power over someone and could use it to get what you want. That's when you demonstrate Christ-like leadership. These moments reveal character. and they create the kind of attraction that's rooted in genuine respect. If this resonates with you, if you recognize yourself as someone who's both capable and kind, understand that someone has been deeply impacted by this balance in you. Now here's the distinction between healthy and unhealthy expression. Someone who uses gentleness to manipulate, who pretends to be weak to gain sympathy, or who alternates between sweet and cruel to keep you off balance. That's not genuine gentle strength, that's calculated behavior. And someone who only shows strength without any tenderness, who never shows vulnerability, who uses their power to control, that's not balance either. But authentic, gentle strength looks like someone who's secure enough to be tender, capable enough to be helpful, and humble enough to serve. The person who's been touched by your gentle strength may be thinking about what it would feel like to be protected by you. Not dominated, not controlled, protected. They're imagining what it would be like to be loved by someone who could hurt them, but never would. They're wondering if you have any idea how safe you make people feel. The reason this touches their soul so deeply is because they've experienced strength without gentleness, or gentleness without strength, and neither one created security. Strength without gentleness is frightening. Gentleness without strength is ineffective. But you've shown them both. And that combination has created something in their heart they can't quite name. It's admiration, mixed with attraction, mixed with a sense of safety they've been longing for. In your presence, they feel like they could be fully themselves without fear. They could be vulnerable without being taken advantage of. They could rest without worrying you'd become weak. And that feeling, that rare, precious feeling of being with someone who's both strong enough to protect and tender enough to cherish has captured their heart in ways they might still be trying to understand. Number 6, developmental psychologists have found that people who practice consistent self-improvement without self-obsession inspire deeper admiration than those who are either stagnant or narcissistically focused on themselves. And there may be someone who's been quietly inspired by watching your journey of growth. Your commitment to becoming better while remaining humble has planted something beautiful in someone's heart. This isn't about perfection or having it all together. This is about being honest, about your weaknesses while actively working on them. It's about reading, learning, going to therapy, pursuing spiritual growth, developing new skills, not to impress others, but to honor the person God created you to be, and someone has been watching your journey. Let me give you a specific picture. Maybe you've been open about going to counseling to work through past wounds. While some people hide their struggles or pretend they don't need help, you've been honest about doing the inner work. Someone heard you mention this, maybe in passing, and it impacted them deeply. They thought, this is someone who isn't afraid to grow. This is someone who wants to be healthy. Or perhaps you've been learning a new skill, maybe a language, an instrument, a professional certification, and you've shared your progress, including your mistakes and frustrations. Someone has watched you persist through difficulty, and they've been inspired by your determination to keep growing. Or maybe you've been vocal about your spiritual journey, the books you're reading, the sermons that challenged you, the prayers you're praying, not in a showy way, but in an authentic way that reveals you're serious about your relationship with God. Someone has noticed that you're not stagnant in your faith, and that commitment to spiritual growth has drawn their heart. Philippians 3:13-14 says, "But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus." This is the posture of a growing believer, not perfect, not arrived, but actively pursuing. Paul himself, despite his incredible spiritual experiences and ministry success, maintained this humble acknowledgement that he was still growing. Jesus demonstrated this principle by continually withdrawing to pray, by learning from Scripture, by engaging in practices that deepened his connection with the Father. Even though he was God in flesh, he modeled the importance of intentional growth. Here's how this shows up practically. When you choose to read instead of mindlessly scroll, you're growing. When you apologize for something you did wrong and actually change the behavior, you're growing. When you ask for feedback and actually apply it instead of getting defensive, you're growing. When you invest in courses, books, therapy, or mentorship instead of spending all your resources on entertainment, you're showing commitment to becoming better. These choices create a pattern that others notice. If this resonates with you, if you recognize yourself as someone committed to growth, understand that someone has been inspired by your journey. Let me briefly show you the unhealthy extremes so you can recognize them. On one end, someone who never works on themselves, who blames everyone else for their problems, who refuses to grow or change. That's stagnation. And it's unattractive because it signals they'll bring the same issues into every relationship. On the other end, someone who's obsessively focused on self-improvement to the point of self-absorption, who constantly talks about their journey but never actually applies what they learn, who uses working on themselves as an excuse to avoid commitment. That's narcissism disguised as growth. But genuine, humble commitment to growth looks like someone who acknowledges their weaknesses, actively works on them, and becomes more loving, more patient, more Christ-like. Over time, the person who's been inspired by your growth may be asking themselves if they're growing at the same pace you've challenged them without saying a word. They may be thinking about what it would be like to grow alongside you, to be in a relationship where both people are committed to becoming better. They might even be working on areas of their own life because your example inspired them. The reason this touches their soul is because growth is attractive in a way that perfection never could be. Perfection is intimidating and unrelatable, but growth, humble, consistent, authentic growth is inspiring. It says, I'm not there yet, but I'm not staying where I am. In watching you grow, they've seen what partnership could look like. Not two perfect people who have it all figured out, but two growing people who are committed to the journey. And that vision has created hope in their heart that maybe, just maybe, there could be something beautiful between two people who both love God and want to become more like Him. Your growth journey has shown them that you're the kind of person who won't stay stuck, who won't settle, who won't stop becoming, and that has made them wonder what it would be like to walk through life with someone so committed to transformation. Number 7 studies in positive psychology reveal that gratitude is one of the most powerful relationship builders, and there may be someone whose heart has been deeply touched by the way you notice and appreciate what others might overlook. Your grateful heart has created something tender in someone who's been watching how you move through the world. This isn't about being polite or saying thank you, though those matter too. This is about a posture of genuine appreciation that changes how you see everything and everyone around you. It's about noticing the good, naming it and celebrating it, even in the midst of difficulty. Someone has watched you operate from this place of gratitude, and it's impacted them more than you know. Let me paint a specific scenario. Maybe you're in a difficult season financially, but instead of complaining, you've been vocal about the small things you're grateful for. Someone heard you thank God for a meal, for a friend, for a sunny day, and they thought about how different you are from most people who have far more but appreciate far less. Or perhaps someone did something small for you, held a door, helped with a task, offered a kind word, and you didn't just say a quick thanks and move on. You stopped, made eye contact, and expressed genuine appreciation that made them feel truly seen. That person went away feeling valued, but someone else witnessed the exchange and thought about how rare it is to see such authentic gratitude. Or maybe you're part of a team or community, and you regularly acknowledge others' contributions while everyone else is focused on what's not working or who's not pulling their weight. You're the one who points out what people are doing well. Someone has been encouraged by your words, but someone else has been observing your grateful spirit and been drawn to it. First, Thessalonians 5:18 instructs us to give thanks in all circumstances. For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. This isn't toxic positivity that ignores real pain. This is the spiritual discipline of finding God's goodness even in hard seasons. Jesus modeled this when he gave thanks before breaking bread to feed the 5,000. He modeled it when he thanked the Father before raising Lazarus. He demonstrated that gratitude isn't dependent on circumstances. It's a choice to acknowledge God's presence and provision even when things are difficult. Here's the practical application. When you're tempted to complain about what you don't have, that's your moment to practice gratitude for what you do have. When someone does something kind for you and you're busy or distracted, that's when you stop and truly thank them. When you see something good in someone else, a quality, a talent, an effort, and you're tempted to stay silent, that's when you speak it out loud. These small acts of gratitude create an atmosphere around you that others want to be in. If this resonates with you, if you recognize yourself as someone who genuinely appreciates others and expresses it, know that someone has been deeply moved by this quality. Now let me show you the unhealthy version so you can recognize it. Someone who only expresses gratitude when they want something, who uses compliments to manipulate, or who showers you with appreciation one moment but criticizes you the next. That's not genuine gratitude. That's strategy, but authentic appreciation that flows from a heart connected to God looks like consistency, sincerity, and the ability to see good even when it would be easier to see problems. The person who's been touched by your grateful spirit may be thinking about what it would be like to be loved by you. They're imagining what it would feel like to be appreciated, not taken for granted. They're wondering what a relationship with you would look like, knowing that you notice effort, celebrate growth, and express appreciation. The reason this touches their soul is because most people feel unseen and unappreciated. They give and serve and show up, and it often goes unnoticed, but you see them, you notice them, you thank them, and in a world where so many people feel invisible, your gratitude makes them feel valuable in your grateful spirit. They've caught a glimpse of how God sees them, with eyes that notice every small thing, with a heart that celebrates their existence, with love that doesn't take them for granted. And that glimpse has created a longing in their heart to be close to you, to be known by you, to perhaps even be loved by you. Your gratitude has shown them what it would be like to be in a relationship where both people feel valued and appreciated, and that vision has become deeply attractive to them in a way that's touching their very soul. Number 8. Neuroscience research shows that playfulness and the ability to bring joy activates neural pathways associated with trust and bonding. And there may be someone who's been captivated by your ability to find lightness even in heavy moments. Your joy isn't frivolous or fake. It's rooted in something deeper. And someone has noticed this is about more than just having a sense of humor. Though that's part of it, this is about refusing to let the weight of the world crush your spirit. It's about finding reasons to laugh, creating moments of levity, helping others breathe a little easier. And someone has been watching how you bring light into dark spaces. Let me give you a concrete example. Maybe you're in a high-pressure environment, a stressful job, a difficult family situation, a challenging season, and instead of letting the heaviness consume everything, you find moments to be playful. You crack a joke that makes everyone laugh. You turn on music and dance for 30 seconds. Just to shift the energy, you suggest something spontaneous and fun when everyone else is drowning in seriousness. Someone in that space has been deeply impacted by your ability to create joy. Or perhaps you were with someone who was going through a hard time, and instead of just sitting in the sadness with them, which has its place, you also helped them laugh. You reminded them that joy still exists even when grief is present. You showed them that hope isn't foolish just because circumstances are difficult. That person was grateful for your presence. But someone else witnessed how you ministered through joy and thought about what a gift you are, or maybe you're naturally playful in conversation. You tease gently. You laugh easily. You don't take yourself so seriously that others have to walk on eggshells around you. Someone has been in conversation with you and left feeling lighter, freer, more alive than they did before. Nehemiah 8:10 declares, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." This isn't surface-level happiness that depends on circumstances. This is deep, abiding joy that's rooted in the knowledge that God is good, that He's in control, and that ultimately everything will be made right. Jesus demonstrated this when He attended parties, when He used humor in His teachings, when He welcomed children with their natural playfulness. He carried the weight of humanity's sin, yet He didn't walk around with a cloud of depression. He showed us that joy and seriousness can coexist, that you can be deeply spiritual while also being genuinely fun. Here's how this works practically. When everyone around you is spiraling into anxiety and you crack a joke to release the tension, you're ministering. When you choose to dance in your kitchen instead of staying stuck in worry, you're resisting the enemy's plan to steal your joy. Number 9. Research in attachment and bonding reveals that authenticity creates deeper connection than any carefully crafted persona ever could. And there may be someone who's been profoundly moved by how real you are, by your willingness to be vulnerable without making it everyone else's problem. Your authenticity isn't performance. It's not curated for social media, and it's not strategically deployed to gain sympathy. It's genuine humanity, rooted in the security of knowing whose you are. This is about being honest about your struggles without dwelling in victimhood. It's about sharing your journey without making yourself the center of every conversation. It's about letting people see the real you, the messy, growing, sometimes confused, but always seeking version of yourself, and trusting that God can use even your imperfections to minister to others. Someone has witnessed your authenticity, and it's done something in their heart they can't quite explain. Let me paint you a specific picture. Maybe you were in a setting where everyone was projecting perfection, posting highlight reels, sharing only victories, presenting carefully edited versions of their lives. And you showed up differently. You shared honestly about a struggle you were facing, not to complain or seek pity, but to be real. You admitted you didn't have all the answers. You acknowledged that you were still learning, still growing, still figuring things out. Someone in that space breathed a sigh of relief because you gave them permission to be human too. Or perhaps you were having a difficult day, and instead of pretending everything was fine when someone asked how you were honest. You said, "Today's been tough, but I'm trusting God through it." Not dramatically, not seeking attention, just truthfully. That person appreciated your honesty, but someone else noticed the balance in how you shared. You were real about the struggle, but also real about your faith. You didn't hide the pain, but you didn't make it your identity either. Or maybe someone saw your social media and noticed that you share the victories and the valleys, the highlights and the hard days, the celebrations and the lessons learned through failure. While others are creating carefully curated feeds that make their lives look flawless, you're showing that real life includes both mountaintops and valleys, and that God is faithful in all of it. Someone has been watching, and your authenticity has given them courage to stop performing too. Ephesians 4:25 tells us, "Therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another." This isn't just about not lying. It's about living truthfully, presenting ourselves accurately, being genuine in our connections with others. Jesus modeled perfect authenticity. He wept when he was grieved. He expressed anger when righteousness demanded it. He admitted his human struggle in Gethsemane when he asked if the cup could pass from him. He didn't hide his emotions or pretend to be unaffected by human experience. Yet he never used his authenticity to manipulate, never weaponized vulnerability, never made his humanity an excuse for sin. Here's the practical application. When you're tempted to pretend you have it all together, that's your moment to practice healthy authenticity. When someone asks how you're doing and you're struggling, you can be honest while still being hopeful. When you fail at something and you're tempted to hide it or make excuses, you can be real about what happened and what you're learning. When you don't know the answer to something, you can admit it instead of pretending. These moments of authenticity create connection that performance never could. If this resonates with you, if you recognize yourself as someone who's willing to be real, understand that someone has been deeply impacted by your vulnerability. They've seen you be human, and it hasn't made them think less of you. It's made them feel safe enough to be human around you too. Now let me show you what unhealthy authenticity looks like so you can recognize the difference. Someone who uses vulnerability as manipulation, who shares their struggles only to gain sympathy, control, or attention, that's not genuine authenticity. That's weaponized weakness. Someone who overshares constantly, who makes every conversation about their drama, who uses their struggles as an excuse for poor behavior, that's not healthy vulnerability. That's using authenticity as a shield against accountability. But genuine, Christ-centered authenticity looks like someone who's honest about their humanity while pointing others toward God's faithfulness. It looks like vulnerability that builds connection without creating codependency. It looks like sharing your story to give hope, not to gain pity. The person who's been touched by your authenticity may be thinking about what it would feel like to be truly known by you. Not just seen at your best, but accepted at your worst. They're imagining a relationship where both people can be real without fear of rejection. They're wondering if you have any idea how rare you are in a world full of filters and facades. The reason this touches their soul so deeply is because they're tired of pretending too. They've been around people who require them to maintain a perfect image, who can't handle honesty, who would judge them if they showed their real struggles. But you've shown them what safe relationship looks like, where both people can be authentically human while encouraging each other toward Christ-like growth. Your authenticity has revealed that you understand what it means to be simultaneously broken and beloved, messy and redeemed, imperfect and pursued by a perfect God. And that understanding has created in their heart a longing to build something real with someone who knows that love isn't about perfection. It's about truth wrapped in grace. Number 10, relationship research consistently shows that people who maintain healthy boundaries while remaining open-hearted create the most sustainable and satisfying connections. And there may be someone who's been quietly amazed by how you protect your peace without becoming closed off to people. Your wisdom in knowing when to say yes and when to say no has spoken volumes to someone who's been watching how you navigate relationships. This isn't about being rigid or unavailable. This isn't about building walls around your heart or keeping everyone at arm's length. This is about the beautiful balance between being generous with your time and energy while also recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. It's about loving others well while also stewarding the life God has given you, and someone has noticed that you've mastered something they're still learning. Let me give you a tangible example. Maybe someone asked you to take on a responsibility that you knew would stretch you beyond your capacity. And instead of saying yes out of guilt or people-pleasing, you kindly declined. You explained your current commitments, you suggested alternative solutions, and you remained warm and loving even as you held your boundary. The person who asked might have been initially disappointed, but someone else witnessed that exchange and thought, this is someone who knows their limits. This is someone who won't burn out or become resentful. Or perhaps you have a friend or family member who tends to overstep, and you've learned to lovingly but firmly redirect them. You don't cut them off or treat them harshly, but you also don't allow them to violate your boundaries. You found that sweet spot between grace and firmness, between compassion and self-protection. Someone in your life has watched you navigate that relationship and been impressed by your ability to love difficult people without losing yourself in the process. Or maybe you're generous with your time and resources, but you've also learned to recognize when someone is taking advantage. You give freely, but you don't allow yourself to be used. You help others, but you also know the difference between supporting someone through a season and enabling unhealthy patterns. Someone has witnessed your discernment and thought about how wise you are to give generously while also protecting what God has entrusted to you. Proverbs 4:23 instructs us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." This isn't about becoming hardened or suspicious. It's about recognizing that your heart, your time, your energy, and your peace are valuable resources that need to be stewarded wisely. You can't give away what you haven't protected. Jesus demonstrated perfect boundaries throughout his ministry. He withdrew from crowds to pray even when people wanted more from him. He said no to his own family when they tried to interrupt his ministry. He didn't heal every sick person in Israel or solve every problem that was presented to him. He operated within the boundaries of what the Father was calling him to do, and he didn't allow guilt, manipulation, or even genuine need to pull him outside of that calling. Here's how this shows up practically. When someone asks you to do something and you feel that check in your spirit that this isn't yours to carry, you can lovingly decline. When you need rest and someone wants your time, you can honor your need without feeling guilty. When someone is consistently draining your emotional energy and giving nothing back, you can adjust the level of access they have to you. When you recognize that helping someone in a particular way would actually harm them by preventing necessary growth, you can say no to the request while still loving the person. These boundary decisions reveal wisdom and self-awareness that create attraction in healthy people. If this resonates with you, if you recognize yourself as someone who's learning to balance openness with boundaries, know that someone has been deeply impacted by watching you navigate this. Now let me show you the unhealthy extremes. On one side, someone who has no boundaries, who says yes to everything, who allows themselves to be used and depleted. That's not love, that's fear of rejection. That person will eventually burn out or become bitter. On the other side, someone whose boundaries are really just walls, who uses self-care as an excuse for selfishness, who's so protected that they never risk real connection. That's not wisdom. That's fear of intimacy. But healthy boundaries look like knowing when to open your heart and when to protect it. It looks like being generous without being depleted, loving without losing yourself, giving without enabling. The person who's been touched by your boundary wisdom may be thinking about what partnership with you would look like. They're imagining a relationship where both people respect each other's needs, where love doesn't mean losing yourself, where you can be close without being codependent. The reason this touches their soul is because they've experienced relationships without healthy boundaries, relationships that left them exhausted, resentful, or empty. But watching you has shown them what sustainable love looks like. And they're wondering if there's someone you might choose to let inside those wisely guarded walls you've built. So there you have it, 10 profound reasons why someone you'd never imagine has been deeply moved by who you are, not by what you pretend to be, not by your carefully crafted image, but by the authentic, Christ-reflecting person you're becoming day by day. Your emotional stability, your listening heart, your integrity, your celebratory spirit, your gentle strength, your commitment to growth, your grateful heart, your joyful presence, your authenticity, and your boundary wisdom. These aren't small things. These are the qualities that build kingdoms, that change lives, that reflect the very nature of God himself. And someone has been watching. Someone has been moved. Someone has been praying about whether there might be something more between you. Here's what I want you to understand as we close. This isn't about becoming prideful or thinking you've arrived. This is about seeing yourself the way heaven sees you, as someone whose character is being shaped by the Master's hand, someone whose influence reaches further than you realize, someone whose life is touching others in ways you may never fully know this side of eternity. If you're single and wondering if anyone sees you, they do. If you're questioning whether your efforts to grow and change matter, they do. If you're tired of doing the right thing when it seems no one notices, someone notices. God notices, and He's using your faithfulness to draw hearts toward both you and Him. As you move forward from this moment, I want you to carry this truth with you. You don't need to change who you are to be loved. You don't need to become someone else to be valued. The qualities you've been developing through your walk with God, the character you've been building in the secret place, the fruit of the Spirit that's becoming evident in your life, these are exactly what someone is looking for. Keep being emotionally stable. Keep listening with your whole heart. Keep living with integrity even when it costs you. Keep celebrating others. Keep balancing strength with gentleness. Keep growing. Keep being grateful. Keep bringing joy. Keep being real. Keep maintaining healthy boundaries, and trust that God is writing a love story in your life that's better than anything you could script yourself. Trust that the right person will recognize these qualities in you because they possess them too. Trust that when God brings you together, it will be two people who are both becoming more like Christ, choosing to walk toward Him together. Before we close, I want to pray for you. Father God, I thank you for every person watching this right now. I thank you that you see them fully, not just their potential, but their present reality. You see the work they've been doing in secret. You see the character they've been building. You see how they've been choosing your ways, even when it was difficult. Lord, would you speak to their hearts right now and affirm that they are seen, they are valued, and they are loved. If there is someone who's been moved by them, would you give them wisdom about that relationship? And above all, would you continue shaping them into the image of your Son, knowing that as they become more like Jesus, everything else will fall into place according to your perfect plan. In Jesus' name, amen. If this message touched your heart today, do me a favor and leave a comment below sharing which of these 10 points resonated with you most. And if you feel led to support this ministry through Super Thanks, I'm truly grateful. But your presence here and your willingness to grow are more than enough. Until next time, remember, you are seen, you are valued, and someone out there recognizes the treasure that you are. Keep being you, keep growing, keep trusting God's timing. He's writing something beautiful, and the best chapters are still ahead. God bless you abundantly.